The information palette is an extremely powerful tool for performing mass assignments and removals of information. In other words, I can assign entirely new attributes which do not yet exist to all of the elements that are currently contained within my document, or I can remove them directly from those specific objects to which I may have accidentally assigned them, thanks to the helpful Set as Unassigned mode. Let's take a quick look at an example of how to use this technique. Here on the screen, I've set up a multitude of objects, in this case, spheres, that have been given 5 pieces of information, labeled from text 1 to text 5. If we go to the object palette, we can see that there are 100 spheres available. At this point, I can directly populate the information palette, and therefore call up, for example, the information text 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so now we have all our objects. If I group them by object, I can also see from the information palette that, in fact, there are 100 spheres. Great. At this point, these objects are still missing some information. How do I assign them? I can access the attribute selection directly. Thank you. Search for the attribute I want to assign to my objects. Then I can select the first cell, scroll to the bottom using this scroll bar, select everything, then click on the little pencil, type in example, and just like that, we will populate all 100 spheres with the new short text attribute example 01. At this point, let's try to see how to perform an operation to remove information. So I select all the cells in the text 5 column and set them as unassigned. You'll notice that the text 5 column has disappeared, and you can verify this directly from the properties palette. In fact, in the properties palette, we see text 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is missing. Let's repeat the operation on the text 3 column as well. Just to show you clearly, you can also scroll down using the mouse. So here I go and set it as unassigned, and as a result, we'll have a gap between text 2 and text 4, so we'll only have text 1, 2, and 4. Excellent. So we've seen how the information palette is extremely powerful in this regard. At the same time, I remind you that these operations can also be performed using Excel. For example, by typing the key combination EA, I can bring up the export to Excel function. So we'll tell it that we want to export all the objects I have on screen, my 100 spheres, and at this point I can add a new column. The column header is the Alplan attribute. I can add any attribute, or when I add, as in this case text 3, I will link directly to the default attribute of Alpla. Let's maybe drag and fill in the text 3 attribute, perhaps using the incremental technique so that we get, for example, C01-100. At the same time, I move to the upper part. To delete all the information contained in the text 4 column, I enter this particular syntax, less than, delete, greater than. I do a Ctrl+C and Ctrl+V, maybe on all the cells below. At this point, I can save my Excel file, exit Excel, and re-import the modified Excel file directly. When I go to import it, this comparison dialog will appear, showing me how 200 values have been changed. Why 200 values? Because on one hand, we added a new column with 100 values, and on the other, we removed 100 values. So we will find text 1, 2, and 3 as expected.